I wanted to talk about the story about a Chinese bamboo tree. And if you don't know about a Chinese bamboo tree, it's a tree that grows up to 90 feet tall. So super, super, super big tree. And it takes about 5 years to grow that tree up to its final height. And when you first plant the seed for a Chinese bamboo tree, you give it water, make sure it gets sunlight, you make sure that the environment around it is all good, you make sure that the air is good. You put in a lot of work to make sure that that seed is in a position to be able to grow into a 90 feet tall tree. And that first year after you have it planted, it grows on the outside absolutely nothing. But of course, it's a 90-foot tall tree. So that first year, what it does is just gets a couple of roots. And then that second year, you keep doing all the right things. You keep giving it water, keep giving it sunlight, keep controlling the environment. You make sure that everything's good. And that second year, nothing happens. Nothing on the outside happens. The roots, it just grows more roots. They grow longer, thicker, stronger. Third year, same thing. You're doing all the right things. And again, the tree doesn't grow anything on the outside. Fourth year, exact same thing. You're doing all the right things. And still, on the outside, that seed hasn't grown to anything. All that's happened is the roots, so underground, they've gotten significantly longer, significantly thicker, significantly stronger. And then at some point in that fifth year, in a 30-day span, you can see that seed grow from just barely nothing on the outside, and it'll grow into 90 feet within a 30-day span, somewhere in that fifth year. And I think it's a great correlation to how life works for people that are successful or people that achieve any form of success in their life. And the way that I look at it played out in my life is that, I graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA. I went to college for about a semester. I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that book just talked a lot about how is it that you can make money. I came to the conclusion that going to school wasn't the best way for me to make money because I knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. And I ended up dropping out of college, and then I didn't really do a lot for a whole entire year. I read a lot of personal growth books, read a lot of business books, listened to a lot of podcasts, went to a lot of conferences, like motivational conferences that everyone hears about, and just learned a lot of success principles, and I just got immersed in a lot of it. And then, probably the second year, I still wasn't doing anything. I was working at an airport. Worked there for about a year and wasn't really making much money, was still going to a lot of conferences, was still reading a lot, was still listening to a lot of podcasts and just trying to learn as much as I can about how to be successful and how to start a business. And then finally, somewhere when I was like 21 years old, my brother and I started the business and we thought we were gonna make all this money. We move out to Iowa to start the business. It doesn't go too well there. We end up moving out to Toledo, Ohio, to start growing the business, and things start to get a little bit better there. We're 22-year-old kids. We think we're all that in a bag of chips, and we think that we've made it in the business world. But we're in a small little city, Toledo, so there's not a lot of opportunity there. And then we end up moving to Dallas, Texas, because we see a big opportunity. We've been here now for about 7 years, but we moved to Dallas, Texas, and we lose almost all of our money. Okay, so this is now probably around 4 or 5 years after, we've dropped out of college. And we told our parents that we're gonna make a lot of money, and 5 years later, we have nothing to show for it. We have a business that's failing. We've lost almost all of our money. We don't have a college education. All we have is a high school diploma with a 1.9 GPA, and we're close to collecting a lot of debt. And that fifth year, we finally start to gain some traction. The business starts to grow a little bit. And it's not really until year 6, year 7 that we, got out of high school, dropped out of college or whatever, that we really start to see a lot of growth. But those first couple of years right out of high school where I wasn't working and I was just going to conferences and I was just listening to podcasts, I was just getting around the right people, I genuinely believe that was when I was growing my roots. That's when they were getting, thicker and stronger. I was building a backbone. I was learning how to think like a successful individual. And I did that for a handful of years. And it didn't have anything to show for it on the outside. No one could see any success. There was no money. There was no signs of anything, going well. But on the inside, in my head, I was growing, I was gaining experience, and I was just getting better. And then finally, when, the time came, the business just kind of blew up. And it felt like it happened, overnight. And it was the craziest thing in the world. And I look at it just like a bamboo tree, where you can literally see a bamboo tree where it's at its height in the morning, and then you can come back later that night and you can see how much it's grown, and it's a significant difference, okay? And most people, they would want that. You know, they would want things to happen what feels like overnight, but they don't see all the years of watering the seed. They don't see all the years of having to take care of the environment, making sure that the seed gets sunlight. And that's really what prepared, you know, that seed to be able to hold a tree for 90 foot tall. So that story resonates a lot with me. I think it can apply to just about anyone that's looking to be successful in any industry.